Welcome to Paranormal Gateway Paratalk. I'm host Scott Wise, and tonight on the show we're joined by paranormal investigator Brian Kramer.
How you doing?
Donna have over 250 investigations across the United States and Canada, from the haunted Alcatraz to Ghostbusters hornet and the historic presidential train car Ferdinand Magellan. They explored some of the most iconic and active locations in North American history. Brian used to have a quirky calls for a pop note. For the he appeared in Ghostbusters back in the early college days near Central Park. With like his experience in countless show encounters, Brian and Donna bring a wealth of insight into the paranormal field. So we're do let's welcome Brian to this show. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Um, I guess we're gonna start off about with a little fun about you appearing Ghostbusters and did it actually spark your interest in the paranormal? That
No, not one bit whatsoever. I went to
okay.
school at the New York Institute of Technology on 61st and Broadway in Manhattan, and I'd always see celebrities just walking around New York. And I was walking near Central Park one day, and I saw a huge, huge movie set, which turned out to be where they shot most of the exteriors of the building. They had the roads were all faked out, that they were all crushed up. The police cars were there, the barricades were there, and Ecto One was there. But of course, nobody knew what Ecto One was then. And it was basically the closing credits that they were shooting. So I just jumped in. I was like 19, 18 years old, and I went over to the soldiers who the fake actor soldiers extras were supposed to be blocking off so the Ghostbuster guys could leave. And all of the extras were mad at me because they knew I wasn't actually a paid extra. I'm like, you're in my city, on my streets, too bad. And then eventually, the scene where Ecto One pulls out and the crowd runs up to him. I ran up to Bill Murray, and I got right up to the window. And I subsequently met Bill Murray twice. And the second time I met him, I said, I bet you don't remember the first time we kind of met. And it was kind of funny. And it took months and months. They came out eventually, and even on the screen the first time, it's so fast, I didn't know where to look. It took years for me to find me on VHS watching it. So I'm in 3 shots during the end credits. But no, I had no interest in the paranormal.
Here, it-
And
here it is.
it's me on the bottom left. And
Yeah, yeah.
I had no interest in the paranormal, and I didn't for decades. So it's just kind of ironic.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
You always see about winning Oscars and stuff. I do it.
Yeah. What's not cool was my birthday 2 years ago, my son got me one of those things, and Ernie Hudson, and he paid for Ernie Hudson to wish me a happy birthday and stuff, which is kind of fun.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, how did you and Donna first get involved in paranormal investigations?
I always watched Ghost Adventures from day one with my son, and I didn't really give it much thought. I thought it was cool. I didn't think all these people were liars, but I really didn't give it any thought. I had no belief one way or the other. I certainly didn't believe in an afterlife, didn't believe in religion, didn't believe in anything, basically. Um, and Donna always scoffed at that show completely. She literally would walk out of the room when my son and I were watching it. And then she started watching Paranormal Caught on Camera that has real clips that people send them. And that suddenly got her intrigued. And then we went on a little thing up in St. Augustine. And that was okay. Wasn't really run very well. And then I went by myself to a cemetery in Tampa during the day on Halloween. And I did about an hour by myself, and I didn't listen to any material I had for about a month. That's how unenthusiastic I was. And then about a month later, I finally sat down and listened to an EVP session I had. And I say, oh, my meter just went yellow. And at the same exact time that happens, I got an EVP saying either Kelly or kill me. Everybody's heard it. It's basically 50-50. So I was really glad that I called out that physical activity in my EMF meter, because that really verified something happened at that moment, the same time I got to the EVP. And at that moment, my belief system had to completely turn around, because I know that there was nobody in that entire cemetery with me. And that voice is clear as day. It wasn't radio. It's on a digital recorder. It was on a spirit box. And that was the beginning.
I get the best UVPs ones without the ghost box and stuff, because the ones that you get naturally without that is the best ones. Yeah, we still always do stocks there once in a while, but I concentrate more on just without the help from that.
I have no.
I get better repeated that way.
I'll use anything I can. I have no. I get amazing responses on spirit boxes.
Hmm.
Really, really good stuff. A lot of interactive, intelligent answers. So
Hmm.
I'll mix it up between EVP and spirit box.
That would do. Yeah, that's not what I'll do. So over you conducted over 250 investigations. Is there one that shows up stuck with you?
A
Yeah,
lot.
it's hard, of course, to ask. I'm now asking. It's hard for people to answer that question.
Um, there honestly there's so many. I mean, I've got such great historical evidence that a lot of investigations. It's hard to specifically pick. The USS Intrepid in New York, which it doesn't appear to me to get investigated very often. The first time I went, I was more aware of the 60 naval guys that got killed on a kamikaze plane in the hangar deck. So when I went
Oh,
back the second time, I literally brought a digital recording of a kamikaze plane coming in, and
oh wow.
I went to the spot where the hangar deck was, and I had my spirit box on. I played that recording, and I got a great, very fast answer or voice saying the enemy is coming. It's hard to argue with that. And then I went over a little bit away. They have a memorial with the names of the soldiers the Navy people that got killed in that attack. And I said, "Is there something you'd want us to know?" And this other voice said, "That we're heroes." So that was all pretty striking, you know.
Yeah, it is. I'm out here in Ohio. I want to investigate Red's Power Center Air Force Base. That's out
Oh,
here, and
sure,
I love it out there. So that's like right down the road from me.
that's great. Yeah, I've always wanted to go there.
Yeah.
I'll investigate any place as long as they officially tell me. Unless they tell me I can't do it, I do what I call guerrilla investigating. I've pulled out my stuff at the Mob Museum in Las Vegas, standing in front of the St. Valentine's Day wall and the bullets that they pulled out of those guys that they killed. Any place I can go that makes some sort of semblance to me, I'm going to pull out my equipment until they tell me I can't. So
That's cool. Yeah. All the historic sites, which one gave you the best impression?
of all the what?
Historic sites, have you given that? Yeah.
Alcatraz was
That,
great.
that one, yeah.
That was really great. The USS Hornet blew up my millimeter. It was insane. I was sitting down in the mess area at a table because I was exhausted, and I'd been getting crazy readings all day long. I got interactive responses on the EMF on the REM portion of my millimeter, and then I'm sitting there, and it just went crazy to the max, and then literally stopped working, and I had to send it back to the company. So it literally wiped out, and it got so active and so hot, and it wasn't the battery. It had to get replaced by the millimeter, pro dimensions, whatever it is. That was pretty insane. Like I said, it's really tough. Whenever I do investigations, whether I'm at somebody's home or at a historical site or a place that gets investigated a lot, the whole premise I go in with is why should they talk to me? Especially if I'm a location that gets investigated a lot. I mean, I see these people ask the same inane questions all the time. And no offense, if I was a spirit, I'd tell them to go F themselves and I wouldn't talk to them. Why should they talk to me? So if I'm doing specifically a historic location, I'm going to do a lot of research and try to ask relevant questions that maybe they haven't been asked before. Maybe they have something to say about that they want to share. And it seems to, that seems to be my forte, and it's worked really well.
Yeah. It's the same repetitive question. It's got to be boring for them because
Absolutely.
I don't know if they what's your name, what year was there, who's the president, and all those. But I think I can get like I said, if we do um if you go to any library, you can find stuff in history determined areas too.
Sure. Absolutely.
So I mean, I think probably City Hall is our place too.
Yeah, we were at
Oh,
the
yeah.
we were investigated Zach Bagans Museum in Las Vegas. So we did the midnight investigation, and we were in a room that was filled with um, artifacts from the Titanic.
Hmm.
And I said, "Do you know they made a movie about you?" And this person just came back and said, "No," which is great. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah. I know that we had an investigation coming up a couple weeks at the Mansfield Fire Museum out here in Ohio. It'll be my fourth time, but I do it the first time. But they have all the old artifacts from the old hoses, the old helmets, the old coats and stuff, and that has a lot of energy in that place. Yeah, I get lost all right there.
Yeah, just a matter of doing a little bit of homework and not being what's
Yeah,
going to set you apart. That they should stop and talk to you.
right. And I would be interested. So sad news that the guy who used to host us, he passed away last year.
Oh, really?
So I wonder if he'll be there. He
It's
probably will.
it's very possible if you like that place. Sure.
Oh, he loves it. Yeah, yeah. He's throwing bingo. That's one before he got it in. We had to wait for the bingo players to leave.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but like I said, get all stuff out of there. Um, Bert, you want to tell me about your experience on Alcatraz?
My what?
Your experience on Alcatraz. Yeah.
Um, the mortuary, which is actually outside, was just crazy. The readings I was getting on my millimeter, the EMF readings, were just off the chart. And then I started getting some voices on my SB11 Spirit Box. Two specifically were women, that two different voices that talked to me with or spoke within about 10 or 12 seconds, including one that said, "You raped me." And a lot of people don't really understand why there'd be women out there, but there were a lot of women who lived out there that were wives of the guards and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And also children who grew up out there, which a lot of people aren't aware of. Children of the guards, they lived out there. So it certainly isn't out of the norm that it could have been women that were out there, or maybe women that were raped. Who knows? I also had a super great experience by the solitary confinement cells. I forgot which block that was. And I said, "Anybody want to meet me in the shower?" And this voice came out clear as day. Said, "Sure do." And I burst out laughing. I said, "Do you want to really meet me there?" He goes, "Yup." So that was with an accent. That was pretty awesome.
Oh
So
my.
there was other stuff too, but those are the two big highlights of Alcatraz. Next time I go back, I have to bring Donna because I think she'll be a good trigger object. Although apparently I was a pretty good trigger object too.
Oh, both ways.
Yeah, absolutely,
So,
both ways. That's the way to put it.
yeah, I guess they were very lonely over these years.
Yep.
Say, you look good.
Yeah, apparently so.
Oh my. Um, the Ferdinand Magellan. Do you have any experiences there?
I've done that car I think 4 or 5 times now,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's the car for people who don't know that was built for FDR during World War II.
Hmm.
It is a armored train car, literally armor plating. It has a submarine hatch at the top, so if it ever flipped over, they'd be able to get out through the ceiling. The vaulted door at the back by the balcony is a bank vault door that's about 2 inches, 3 inches thick, and that balcony is infamous because that is where Harry Truman um, took that picture. Dewey defeats Truman, one of the most historic presidential pictures in history. That's the balcony. He happens to be my favorite president, and I got to stand on that balcony. And I've done a lot of research on Harry and read a lot of books about him. And I was so excited to be able to be sitting in the lounge where Ronald Reagan sat in, where Eisenhower sat in, where FDR sat in, and of course, President Truman. So at one point, our first time there, I started asking Truman about his wife, Bess, and mentioned that I read the book about him. And I got what sounded clearly like an older Midwestern male voice that responded back to me, which was just absolutely crazy. We also had, at one point, we were about 4 of us were sitting on the floor there because you're not supposed to sit on the furniture. It is the original presidential furniture, which is just crazy. So we're sitting on the floor, and we were asking about the secrets about the servants service, the attendants that worked there, who were all black. and we got a bang on the ceiling. Now, we were the only people in this entire facility, this museum. It was probably about midnight, and it's the top of a train car. There's no excuse, and we're in a old blimp hangar. Okay, so there's nobody walking around. There's no birds in there, and this wasn't like a bird landing. This was a bang, and thankfully we got it recorded. That was pretty awesome. And then another time we were in this old Zephyr 1950s train car. There actually is going to be moving out of that museum, going to California, and I had my XLS camera in the window in one of the passenger cabins facing the hallway. And 35 minutes, we got all these images on the XLS of black figures going through. Sometimes it was head and shoulders. Sometimes it was just so fast you couldn't make anything out. But I'm going to assume that was residual because nothing ever responded to us. But it was 35 minutes of stuff. That was crazy. We've got other stuff too. We've got activity. I would always leave cameras running, especially in the presidential lounge and the dining room where FDR would eat. And I've got a lot of that place is sealed, and I would get all these noises and movement. You can clearly have movement in there for no reason whatsoever, including footsteps. We got footsteps too.
Oh,
so
wow.
That place, to be able to, I think, as far as I know, it's the only presidential location you can investigate at this point. So every time I go back, I get so excited.
Yeah. Is there any point in the evening time-wise that activity is more?
No, we're always there at night because that's when the museum is closed.
Right. Okay.
So we're usually there 7 to 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Yeah.
Depending on how bad it is, but we've got stuff as soon as we turned our stuff on there.
Yeah. I always, when I first go into the investigation, I always put my recorder on right away.
Yes, I learned that the hard way. The recorder goes on before anything else.
Yeah.
ADR, always be recording.
Yep. Yeah.
It's one of my rules.
It was like up in New York, we were getting a tour of the museum up there, Palmer, and she was doing a tour. I picked up a girl talking and a cat meow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were in Savannah getting literally like you said, like a tour, and I had my stuff out. When I could pull away from the group and lag behind, I did my own stuff. But otherwise, and what's good was that the tour guide was totally cool. She knew what I was doing, and she actually wanted to know if I caught anything that I knew of while we were doing it. But like I said, I'll take my stuff out any place I go.
Yeah, because there's a place called the Hardman Mansion back in PA that this little girl and boy there took up in Hannah, and I was sitting up in Hannah's room, and because I have my stuff run, and I was back the second time, like, Jacob, or Hannah, are you here? And then I heard in my ear, mm-hmm. And I've just caught on my recorder also.
That's great.
So yeah, absolutely else. But yeah, I was with my team this weekend. I told them you got to do the same thing. And another thing I do is I have everything record, so I out there record out there. They don't record well, but what I do, I have a external mic I use. So it bypasses the actual, I get more clear that way.
I use if I'm just recording ambient, I have 3 different Zoom recorders. Zoom H2, and that records in surround sound. And you can put that in the middle of a room, and it gets amazing sound. Yeah. Previously, I was using the Tascam DRO5, which is a really good recorder and a workhorse, because I probably dropped that a dozen times, and I have to tape the back cover on, but it still records. It's like a Timex. That thing takes a lick and it keeps on recording.
So those Zoom ones are they what's it called? Omnidirectional. Take us all around.
Yeah, surround sound. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's a really good quality recording. It's a great recorder.
Yeah. I do I have a lapel mic. I got a really good one, and I run the wire down my back to record my pocket, and I clip it right here in my hat.
Yeah, the
Uh,
Zoom is always. I have three of them, so usually one is with me, literally in my hand a lot of the time, and the other one of them I'll drop in the room wherever we are, and another one I'll stick someplace else just to recording when we're not there. But there's always something, at least two recorders any place I am
yeah.
in
So
terms of
you
audio.
ca- yes, so you carry around big gear bag.
It's
Uh,
ridiculous how much stuff we do.
yeah. No, I gotta get more stuff.
It's
Only
ridiculous.
I think I'm tired of this. Do you use cat balls there?
Absolutely not. They annoy me because you can't recharge them. Years ago, I saw one that was rechargeable. I've never been able to find it again. But with the amount of time that thing sucks up a battery and it's disposable, just pisses me off. I mean,
Oh,
why don't I just use my REM pod? I got a 7 in 1 millimeter. That's a amazing piece of
yeah,
equipment, and it's a REM it's a REM pod. So what do I need a cat ball for?
yeah, I've had that.
It's just another
Uh,
thing. So
yeah, it's one more thing I'm not brave about. And I also saw that trip wires. I thought that kind of cool.
Tripwire is great.
Yeah,
We get a lot on the tripwire. We love that. That's one of our favorite pieces of equipment.
I have to say about that one because they can start with $10 now.
I think it's like 2 and change for the smaller one, and the 36 footer would be nice to have once in a while, but most of the time it's just too long to be used. I investigated a mortuary in Texas back in January that had been closed down for criminal and health activities,
Oh,
and I was able to get in there with another person, just the two of us, in a 16,000 square foot mortuary that literally had activity where people or dead people were left on a slab for a long time. Let's put it that way. And at one point, I'd set the tripwire up on the mortuary slab with a recorder, and we walked out of the room to go investigate another part, and we came back and watched the video, and it went off by itself. So did the REM pod. And later on, I actually laid in the slab, which was pretty interesting. But we also got footsteps in there, and heard the sound of keys. So that was a great location.
yeah. Do you like, go to Poachtown Elementary yet?
Did it what?
Go to Poachtown Elementary School?
No.
There are a lot of random noises there too. There are locker slam going elsewhere that I picked up. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's tough stuff out here.
I also go to. I basically investigate every motel room we stay in. They always say how hotel rooms are so full of transient energy. So usually when Donna's taking a shower, I'll pull out the stuff and make use of my time. And I was in a hotel room in Tampa by myself that time, and I'd set up my phone on a tripod on the TV, facing the bed where I actually was setting up my millimeter and my recorder. And when I got home and I listened I watched my phone video, and within 3 seconds, I got this growl. And I subsequently got later stuff on the millimeter too. The REM pod was going off, but that growl in 3 seconds on my phone recording, the video was just great. So like I said, we go someplace, I'm pulling out my stuff.
All right. We had a girl at that mansion too. So yeah, that has some nasty spirits. Call me names.
Yes, I've been cursed out lots of times.
Yeah, I was called a hole. I was called an MFer.
Yeah,
Some bitch.
yeah. It's that's not as much fun as when they say my name because I always introduce us when we walk in any place, and that was really my bucket list when we really got more involved with this. I wanted to hear somebody reply back to me when I asked what my name was, because that really kind of eliminates these excuses from these lame people that think a spirit box reply is the radio. If I just asked you what my
Right.
name was and somebody says Brian, I don't think that's a radio station that just happened to say out of thin air my name exactly when I asked what my name was. And when I present that to other people that don't have the same beliefs we do, they never have an answer to that. So I always think that's amusing.
We I got that once when we were investigating probably 20 years ago. It was York Little Theater in York, VA, and we investigated. And previous year, my friend died from cancer, and He used to volunteer, doing the sets and building stuff, but I picked him up my recorder saying, "Hey Scott."
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
My first time in front, like I said, I always introduced us, and it
Mhm.
took a while, and we were in St. Augustine at the lighthouse, which is an infamous haunt, and we were in the basement of the lighthouse keep of the lighthouse, which is the only original part left. And again, an hour later, I said, "Do you remember what our names are?" And this person said Brian, and I thought I heard it in my headphones. I had to stop my recorder, play back, and they did. So Donna was very aggravated that it said my name and not hers. And
Aw.
about an hour later, we're in another part of the lighthouse, and I just said, "Yeah, Donna's really mad that you said my name, not her name." And they laughed. We captured a laugh on the spirit box,
Yeah.
which was awesome. I love when they laugh. It's so funny. I love the
Oh,
fact that some of them have a sense of humor. You know.
yeah. We get children giggling too sometimes.
Yeah, we're in the Clark County Museum, about 30 minutes outside of Las Vegas, and they have a bunch of old buildings there that they moved. So I knew it would be a good place for us, and it was. And they have an old temple, an old church that's there, and it was playing a 50s doo-wop song that I happened to know. So I walked in there and he said, "Come on!" I started singing. I said, "Sing with me," and somebody did not want to sing because they said no, just like that, really emphatically, which was great. So,
No. So,
yep. Yeah, you want to sing? Nope.
uh, I see some TV shows, and it just started off with asking questions. If you don't want to see her, then light that up, and they're like, "Oh, I'll leave it anyways."
That's always my go-to question. Do you want us to leave? And it's always fun. I've been what I call REM potted out of a room several times where I ask that question and the REM pods go off. Now I asked that question very specifically because I said I'll leave. I didn't say I'd stay away. So I do leave and respect their wishes. I can't stand when you see these other people ask a question like that and they don't honor what they said they would do.
Right,
So I
right,
leave, but I'll come back 20 minutes later because I never said I wouldn't come back, but I did leave. So,
right, right. And sometimes they'll open up more. They got three investigations I went to. Like the third one, that same occasion, I got more out of the first two ones.
well, they know you better. That makes
Yeah,
sense. Now
yeah,
you're familiar. That makes
yeah,
complete sense.
yeah. Yeah, I love Will. I at least want to go back 2 or 3 times to that same place. Because first time you go over, you don't get shit, and then you go back and you get lucky.
Thankfully, thankfully, I really cannot remember the last time I got shut out, which is just crazy. It really is. But yeah, it's always great. We've been to the May Stringer House, which is always called one of the most haunted locations in Florida. I think I've investigated there 5 or 6 times at this point. And the last
Uh,
time, 2 times ago, is when I saw my first shadow figure, which was pretty crazy.
yeah, that fire museum has tons of shell figures there. I mean, if you go there and you don't see one, then you're not looking hard enough.
That's funny.
Yeah, we saw my. Actually, I went with the girl. It's just me and her at one time. No one else would make it. So it's me and her, and I was sitting on the computer. I have a little program I run. It's basically music only. It's called Paranormal Detector, and I set it up. And what it does is it goes it's not off the Wi-Fi. It's not involved anyway or any connection to the internet. It runs their full names out. And a lot of times we'll get stuff like we got fire jams had fire from a time and they said Bill because they had a Bill on our thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, and they I think at one time it's the helmet. So got some good stuff there.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
of the best additions to our gear bag was our new XLS camera. I bought an XLS camera. I bought an SLS several years ago, and we really found that it had a lot of false positives, which is the same thing that happens on TV a lot. Um, and then the XLS was out, so I did get one at the time, and it was pretty good. It was a little bit less reliable, but I replaced it recently with one that's about half the size, and we travel a lot. And this thing I literally can take on a plane with me as my as a personal bag, which is very advantageous to me because Now I can travel with my XLS, and the XLS is head and shoulders above the SLS. I don't know how anybody in this day and age can use an SLS when there are just so many false readings. The XLS also gets so many other things that the S doesn't get. I should have sent you that picture of Donna sitting on the floor with what clearly looks like somebody sitting next to her, that nobody who's ever seen that picture didn't realize that it wasn't somebody sitting next to her, as well as somebody standing in the doorway. And right before that had happened, this black mist floated across the bottom of the screen, which you can't see anything like that on an SLS. An SLS was good 10 years ago, but in terms of that technology, there's no excuse these days why anybody who's really has a serious interest in this should still be using an S or an app, which is insane.
Yeah. Also with where did you get your stuff? Ghost Stop or Ghost Hunter Silver?
I don't have a specific place. I mean, Ghost Stop is good for what it is. I wholeheartedly endorse the Phasm Cam. Lord knows they're not paying me or giving me anything for free. That Phasm Cam is a great full spectrum camera. It's compact. Just like all the reviews I read before I bought it, the camera itself battery sucks, but you can plug it into a cell phone brick, which is what I do, and the external light that they have could last for 5 hours. It's amazing. It's a great device. It isn't super expensive. So I don't have an aversion to Ghost Stop. I did have a few issues with them. Likewise, I'm just going to go wherever the good equipment is.
All right.
The tripwire, like you brought up, there are a couple of knockoffs, but the one that we have, the original tripwire, is a great piece of equipment, and we get a lot of activity on that.
Okay. So what are the XLSs run for now?
The one that we just got the replacement recently was $450.
Okay.
And that comes with its own a hard case that's fully transportable. So consider
right.
it's also fits. It's like this big. It's very compact, which is why I can travel with it. And we've had no issues with it whatsoever. Every time we've turned it on, it works. But the other one, which is from a very brand name company that I'm not going to mention, the customer support was lacking, and we had a lot of issues getting it to work consistently. So this new one I'm very, very happy with, and it's the results and the captures we've got from it, or not gotten from it. It's okay if you don't get anything. I'd rather get nothing than false positive from an SLS.
All right, and yeah, I have the S box. Works very good. Because we was there to SC sessions, and we did that the other night. We went to investigation out in the woods on Saturday night. Boy, it's fucking cold. It's like 45 degrees out. But we used that for the SC session out there. We got some pretty
Here's my issue with the Estes method. I don't understand, especially when I first saw it on television, I believe on Kindred Spirits. They're a pretty big TV show. They can afford an external speaker. Why is it I have to accept your word of what you think you hear?
Right.
They could rig the whole thing, just like I could game judge myself. It's really simple to cure. You plug an external speaker in, somebody else hears the external speaker, and they also might hear something that you didn't hear. We all hear different things listening to Spirit Answers on a Spirit box, necessarily, unless it's absolutely clear, Class A. So the way I always see everybody do an Estes method always just leaves me so flabbergasted. I have an FXM from DirectLink. Is a major Spirit box I've replaced my SB11 with. That has at least 2 or 3 different outputs. So I could have 2 different headphones in there, or headphones and a speaker, and something else, which would clearly eliminate the excuse I have when people do an Estes method of me having to accept your word of what you think you heard. I don't know why anybody just doesn't do it to shut me up.
All right. There was also audio paranoia. Paranoia.
Exactly. Right.
Exactly. Like you said earlier, what you tell me about, with EVP, you had that you heard something and so I heard something else. What was that you told me?
That was the first one. Well, everybody heard either Kelly or Kill Me. It was so basically split down the middle. But that's exactly the point. So you're sitting there with your headphones on, and you think you hear October, and if everybody else, when they listen to the recording, hears something completely different. So I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Just put in an external speaker. Let us hear what you
Yeah,
claim you're hearing.
that's what I got for the Xbox itself. It uses a very good box. I like it. You do AMS FM as you pick your speeds scanning. It's just that. But yeah, that's how I'll do a good blast session. Maybe an hour total or so, and then it goes to regular. You know.
Yeah, I love my SB11. Frankly, I never understood why anybody would get an SB7. It's the 11 is a little bit more with twice the capacity.
Yeah, actually, I have a PSP7. I converted it from Radio Shack 20 years ago. I still that works fine. Yeah, it was so easy to do it.
The FXM that I have, the Direct Link XFM, I think it scans through 3,500 frequencies,
Right.
which is about 10 times more, I think, than the SB11. And also, it has all those things people like echo and reverb, which I never use, but it does have it on there. Again, it has multiple outlets, so I can plug in 2 or 3 different headphones if I want to. I also can plug my recorder directly into it, so I'm not getting any extemporaneous sound if I want to do that. And it also gets a lot less FM interference or radio interference, which is great.
One thing with the Xbox, it gives you option for Bluetooth, but I haven't figured out how to use it. So I don't know if it connects to a Bluetooth speaker I have, or I have to mess around with it. I might have to contact GhostStop. Maybe they can tell me how to do it. Because they line in it's AUX and then Bluetooth, and so it has fast flow on it. Yeah, I'll get in touch with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but do you use any old methods at all?
Like dowsing rods or stuff like that.
Yeah, dowsing a rod
They're in our gear bag. They don't come out very often. They should come out more often.
yeah. With this season speaking, they're using them. I don't know how you lock one. I think I did.
I'm not adverse to technology. Stuff gets improved, and people, or some people are so against it, which I just think it's funny. But if something can work better, look, you use whatever works for you. And
Right.
just like I always have two completely different spirit boxes. I have my SB11 and I have my FXM, and sometimes my SB11, which is obviously much less technologically improved, gets better results, and that's the whole idea of being well equipped and having options.
Right. Yeah, but a little music box too. That's pretty cool.
Yes, we just got a music box. Mine goes about 70 feet, which is mind-boggling. It's crazy how good the distance is.
Yeah, I think mine does probably 20 feet. It's a little tiny one, but it has you can download your own sound to it. So I had the chicken dance on.
That's funny. Now this one actually, like I said, it goes to about 68 to 70 feet, and on the screen it'll actually show you the distance of where the interaction was, where the motion.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really a good piece of equipment.
Where'd you get that?
I think that's Ghost Tech.
Okay.
Anybody can email me or go to my Facebook page and send me a message.
Do you have a YouTube?
No, I don't. I do. There's nothing on there. Everybody's got a YouTube. I don't need to spend 3 hours making something that's going to get 7 views.
Right.
My Facebook page and my Instagram page is where we do a lot of our stuff. It's the same as the name of my group, Paranormal Adventures.us. It has this picture. Where is it? Where are we? There we go.
Yeah.
That's the picture that's on our Instagram as well as our Facebook.
Facebook, yeah.
Which we inverted that from the movie, so they can we changed them. People, it looks similar, but it's not the same.
I was just wondering if you had a video if you using that.
Using which?
The we're talking about the the moisture detector you're talking about.
Oh, not yet.
Oh,
No,
the box, the
not
music
yet.
box.
Not yet.
No, yeah.
We did get. It's funny. We did get activity. The Ferdinand Magellan, though, the first time we used it recently, we were in the presidential lounge, and I had it facing down the hallway where all the cabins were, where the president stayed and the first lady, and that thing went off right off the bat, and we heard footsteps, so that was pretty crazy.
That's cool. So that was the music box you got there. Okay,
Mhm. Yep.
cool. I might have to check that out.
Not cheap either, but I don't spend. I don't like to buy cheap if it's not good.
Boy, no, there's just one thing a year. Yes,
Yep.
usually Christmas presents are all combined birthdays.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I usually get books though for my birthday.
That's what the library's for me. I'm a big
Yeah,
reader. I'm a big reader too.
yeah. I usually like this year. I went to Paranormal Convention in High here, the Mansfield Oratory. I went there a couple weeks ago. Got to meet with my favorite authors and I bought one of his books. I like his stuff. You heard Mike Ricksecker? You ever heard
No.
him?
Uh-uh.
Yeah. Uh, he looks just good stuff. I have authors on sometimes, but I usually get just teams and paranormal investigator and enthusiasts on.
No.
So I do have like a terrifying. They kind of like walk out like
Um,
an investigation.
the only time something like that happened, we were at a cemetery in Titusville or Merritt Island, Florida. It was just Donna and I on a Saturday night, about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, with, of course, a full moon. And we were alone. And it's a very, very, very small cemetery. Very small. I mean, it's like one block. You could literally stand in one seat and see the next block is the end of it, which is good and bad. So we're walking along, and I hear footsteps in the ground. I could hear like leaves shuffling, but I don't say anything to Donna, and she doesn't say anything to me. I hear it again. And then she looks at me. She's like, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "Yes, I did." So then I pull out my thermal camera and I'm aiming it all around and I'm getting no heat signatures whatsoever. So even as people like to claim, maybe it was an animal. If it was an animal, we would have got a heat signature. I have a really good thermal camera, and we got nothing. And then we heard it again. At that point, she said to me, "We are out of here." And we made a new rule at that night. That night is we do not do a cemetery with just the two of us. We always have to have at least one other person with us. So that's the only time that ever really happened. I mean, Donna's been touched several times. She's been touched in the St. Augustine jail. She's been touched in May Stringer house. We were in the doctor's office in May Stringer house, and she in the doctor's office, and she got stabbed by a needle. And no, we're there to do this. We were there. I love when you watch this on TV, and these people that are quote investigators. Something happens and they run. I was hosting an investigation because I also host investigations.
Oh, cool.
When I do, the details are on my page. We were at the May Stringer house in Florida, and in the attic, somebody allegedly hung themselves. And this person came running down the steps, and we said, "What happened?" And he said, "Something yelled at me and told me to get out." And he ran. He left, never came back. So of course, Don and me and a friend of mine ran upstairs, and we went up to the attic and we sat down. And I put on my spirit box. And so why did you tell him to get out? And it said, "You know why," which is just freaking great. So that was awesome. So it's always fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I never had. The worst time I had to get out because I got sick. And something I feel and found out there was a fire in the basement of that place. So that kind of I'd burn up and stuff. But other than that, I don't know that my wife was being a smart aleck and she bought me a shirt that says "Run like you're being chased by ghosts."
Or don't run because you're a paranormal investigator. I investigated the site of the World Trade Center about 4 years ago.
Awesome.
and I went there at 3 o'clock in the morning. So there was just my friend and I. And thankfully, I turned on my recorder before I turned anything else on, because as soon as I turned on that spirit box, like 20 different people said hello. It was insane. So that was a pretty active location for about the 20 minutes I did it for. Yeah.
Yeah. Now for the I've talked about the prison in New Jersey. I'm Bergen County. We got a EV. Well, it's not EV because I actually heard it.
Really?
Screams like people being like murdered and stuff. And
Wow.
it sounds like a in hell, like echoes and stuff. They call it on, we call it Gates from Hell because it sounds like that.
That's cool.
Oh,
Disembodied voices are great. And then that mortuary in Texas, right where we heard the footsteps, I didn't hear it live, but the person I was with heard the disembodied voice, and I got it recorded, which was just great.
yeah. I'll have to send to you afterwards to hear. It'll give you the chills. Me, it was like,
Yeah, I'll bet.
yeah. Down there, up in Palmyra, they had the general store, and I got the fire there killed people back in like the 50s or 60s, and it killed whole family there on that land. So, um, we were upstairs, and the guy says I'm by computer making a light or something. I said and that's not doing anything. I'm just down doing something that's blinking, and last night here, the EVP says, "Come on down with us." And I'm
Yeah,
like, "Whoa!"
yeah, EVPs are great.
Yeah, I could sit and review for hours. A lot of people can't do that, but if you're not going to do it, then it shouldn't be.
Yeah,
Uh,
like I mentioned before we started, I have probably over 100 pages of logged evidence. So if
mhm.
anybody out there would like to join our team and helping technologically and is good at I could give you the logged, times that everything is, and you can put everything together for me in either clips of audio or video or whatever we have. I'd be weirdly welcome to it, because I just don't have the time or the skill set to do it.
Yeah, a lot of kind of stuff. Uh, oh, if you have some stuff, you're starting to a fair chance to, probably. Um, yeah, but cool. So, did you ever bring in or believe in psychic mediums at all?
No, I haven't worked with any mediums. Well, I hosted an investigation actually in Palatka. If anybody watched Ghost Adventures house calls during, I think, the first season, we were the first team to investigate the Palatka house right after Ghost Adventures was there. And we actually had a medium there, and I didn't really do much with them. They were with other people who were there, but she definitely got some stuff that was crazy. We did work. I have worked with a shaman or two just
Oh,
recently on a farmhouse that needed to be cleansed. And after they did their cleansing, after getting, we walked into this house on my walkthrough, and I had my millimeter going. And the moment I crossed the threshold, my EMF reading went from a 0 to a 13.4 in 1 second, and back down to a 0. And then 2 steps later, jumped up to a 9, back down to a 0. And on future scans around, nothing else was happening. It wasn't the environment. It wasn't any equipment. And after we did a lot of stuff in there. We had a TV go on and off by itself. And this was a farm that had 20 acres. So this isn't like it was somebody shooting the remote, 2 yards away on a 0 lot line house. Plus the remote for the TV was on the bed. And the TV went on 3 times from off by itself. And then after a couple hours, they did their cleansing of the house and the property. And we went back in later and got almost nothing. So that was pretty interesting.
there we had the radio go before I think it was unplugged. It's more like sort of static,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's do you use AM pumps at all?
I've read a couple of things about those. And for the most part, I read that basically it gives off enough energy of like a light bulb. So if you actually,
Yeah.
see how far those things actually work, I think people would be probably pretty discouraged from buying them.
Yeah, I actually built one years ago, and it w- you got like 5 feet from it. It would do it, but I ended up something broke. I think the magnets flew off. It's fine. So I didn't feel taken with it. Come on, I like to do my own stuff if I can.
I can't even plug in a piece of software, so there's no way I'm building anything.
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm trying to find a way to um do something like a chart wire. You have different like how I have like a motion sensor. I have that it's pretty good. Like down the hallway here at my apartment, I could be out here like 20 feet away of picking me up.
That's good.
So I thought that if somehow I get in that sucker and tear it apart, figure out something to do that. And buy a bunch of those because they're cheap. I got them for about $5.
Good luck. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's something to think about them. Because like they actually have, um, I believe that they use it's like a clear hose, right, with the wire run through it, right, and then it has the sensors inside.
Yeah. I'm a good consumer. I keep the country running.
Yeah, but I think I was trying. I mean, I could probably get stuff at Lowe's, and I go to Harbor Freight.
Oh, Harbor Freight's great.
Yeah, I
That's
get
right. That's where we get all our cases.
yeah, I still right got the most sector, and then I usually have batteries there, but I find it cheaper online now. I can get,
Yep.
but
I use a lot of rechargeables.
yeah, yeah, I did that for a while, and then they end up got lost in the investigation.
Well, actually,
But
I was flying with a rechargeable in my bag on the plane, and when I landed and took it out of the bag, it had started to burn. So I'm never flying with a rechargeable again.
wow, yeah, I have rechargeable for my 37mm camera. Yeah, but that pissed me off later, and I had full battery, and um, I had three batteries and two on bad, so I had one good one. That's
Hmm.
like Saturday night. Like 15 minutes in, it's drained.
Yeah, it's always great when that happens.
Yeah, that sucks.
That's why you got to bring lots of batteries.
Yeah, I got a battery daddy. I have like all batteries and that thing. So I got like I just bought 100 batteries the other day. Yeah, 100 batteries still 20 bucks. So they're pretty good. There's kind of that bit, the Harbor Freight.
Hmm. Yeah, I use
Always
those
like,
too.
yeah, it's batteries good.
Yep.
Yeah, I never had they that pretty long. They were better than Duracell, some advertisers. I'm still pay up like $16 for 4 batteries. I'm not doing that.
Nope. Me neither.
Mm. Besides, I got to 3 or 4 investigations a year. Hopefully, I have to do good bulk out more now.
Well,
I
I use a battery sensor, sensor also. And if a battery's halfway done, but it still has half a battery, I will take it on a major investigation. But if it's something that I know I'm not going to go long, I don't see any
right,
reason to use it and finish it and get rid of it, as opposed to just. I don't necessarily need a new battery every time I'm going, depending on what kind of
right.
length of the investigation.
I battery test from down low by low half. I put it in a bag and put it outside.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I just keeping them.
Yeah, because a lot of times I'm going to go into a place I know I'm only going to do 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and they're perfect.
Right. Surely, I think about your going to investigation coming up. Are there any events you're doing?
We're going to be at a jail in northern Florida in June. I don't think I have any spots left for that. We're going to be back at May Stringer in August, but that's really kind of semi-private. At that point, I think I'm probably going to be going back to the historic Brooksville train depot. That was the first place we ever got a knock, ever. in response, and we got it again just about 6 weeks ago, which was really cool, as well as a lot of other activity. That'll all be on my page, and then we're going to be in multiple locations in Lafayette, Louisiana, New Orleans. The hotel we're staying at is supposed to be very, very active. There was a fire on the property a couple hundred years ago. It was a Civil War hospital and some other activities too. So I'll definitely be investigating the room that we're staying in for a while and some other places there. And there's always something I'm going to go to. You know where I'm actually going to investigate? I'm actually going to investigate my storage unit. The woman who works there, who I told what I did, was very intrigued, and she said, "Well, think about it. Think of all the stuff that's in here. I mean, it's basically a gigantic antique store." I'm like, "Wow, what a great freaking idea!" So I'm going to go there one night when I know it's quiet. There's nobody in there, and again, I'll investigate till they watch the cameras and tell me I can't.
Yeah, I'll be going back to PA in a couple months, and I'm going to be going to the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. It's my second time going. It's a lot of fun.
I'm sure it's
Yeah.
the only place I really want to go to for Gettysburg, if I'm going to do Gettysburg, is that room or building you can stay in from the Parks Department that's on the grounds, because otherwise at night you can't get on the battlefields. So if you're actually in this house that the Parks Department leases out overnight, then you're on the battlefield. You're there. Otherwise, it just seems like it's so overblown with people,
Right. I knew that. Me and the wife stayed over at the Farnsworth house. That was pretty cool.
I'm sure.
Yeah, they good food too.
That's good.
Yeah. So, bucket list or places you want to get to?
That's a good question. We were in Scotland and England a few years ago before we were doing this. We went to 13 castles and palaces that, of course, would all be investigated now that weren't. We'll be back there, I think, in 3 years. So I'm definitely going to hit up some more of the castles that we've already been to. I don't know. Alcatraz was really a really big bucket list for me, and I got that, but we'll be going back there too.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's always some place. I don't have to. There's no place I can think right now. Like I wish I did that or have to, but I know they're there. I just can't think of it right now. And we've done so many places. My head spins.
All right, there's I want to Scotland. It'd be fun. Hey, maybe you can fit me in one of your equipment cases.
Yeah, we'll be traveling light to go over there.
Have these big equipment case. It might be fit me in a hockey bag.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I got a hockey bag back here full of wires for my DVR systems. They're collecting dust now. Yeah, oh well. Well, I think do you have anything else?
No, I think that's it. Like I said, if anybody wants to see where we're going to be or follow us, it's paranormaladventures.us on Instagram and Facebook. That's our group. I share a lot of informational stuff on there too. Plus, that's where we're at. If we're going to host anything, mostly in Florida, all around Florida, it's going to be there. Come see us.
Also, up in the corner here, there, I think put opposite there. There you go. It's a QR code for your Facebook page.
Oh, cool! Thank you.
Again, yeah. Well, it was wonderful having you on, and it's my pleasure having you on. I had a blast, and I'll have you on again once you get some more investigation under your belt. I think I have like 300.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Give me a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me, Scott.
Sure thing. It's great having you on.
Thanks.
All right. So, everybody, happy morning, and everybody have a good evening. Take care.
Do I look spooky?
Brian. Oh, yeah, you do. You got a light coming up from me.
I know.
I got a flashlight. I got a flashlight going.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
Have a good night, Scott.
You too.
Bye-bye.